welcome class to our online edition of Microeconomics. All the rest of the semester we will be, you'll be receiving the lectures at this format. I chose this room because it is the best lighting for my whiteboard, which you all know that I use quite a bit. My children have removed all the containers of antiseptic of varying flavors, but I still have my Clorox wipes. So I hope everybody's being safe out there. You know, don't be overly anxious, but be safe, be careful. We're going to get through this. Things are going to work out. So first of all, let me say that. So this will be our format from now on, all right? I will try to keep these lectures as on the shorter side, and we'll see if we can compress or condense the information as much as possible, okay? All right, so we were on, and I know it might be a little recapping here for this first video. We were on different market structures, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to do game theory games in class, but I don't know, we'll hopefully we can do it maybe at the very end of the year if we're back in session, but I kind of doubt it. Anyway, of the four market structures: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and then no competition, which is monopoly, okay? Or monopsony, which is not one seller, it's one buyer. All right. Now, classic definitions: perfect competition. It maximizes the competition, the allocation of the resources between buyers and sellers, but the key points in perfect competition are: number one, there's a huge number, not a very large number, because in monopolistic competition we talk about a very large number, meaning thousands, 5, 6, 7, 8,000, which is a large number. But again, with the backdrop of the United States economy, 5,000 or 6,000 is not a large number. But in perfect competition, we are talking about a huge number of not only producers, but producers and consumers. Now, since we have such a huge number, nobody has any control over the price. No one has any market power. Okay, so for your future exams or quizzes, remember, market power, you have no market power. You have no control over the price. All right, so without having any market power, we are all price takers. We take the price as given. All right, and that's one of the number one hallmark of perfect competition. Number two, in perfect competition, we have a product that, unlike oligopoly and monopolistic competition, which is similar and they try to differentiate it, with perfect competition, it's pretty much the same. It's called a standardized product. A bushel of wheat is a bushel of wheat is a bushel of wheat. Whether you go to store A, B, or C, it's all a bushel of wheat to you. It doesn't really make any difference. So we've got a huge number of people buying this stuff, a huge number of producers making it, and the product itself is standardized. Number three, we call it easy entry and exit into the industry. Would be relatively easy, not going to involve a lot of capital equipment or laying down major oil or gas lines or water lines, which would be more reflective of monopoly, which has high barriers to entry. So there's easy entry and exit. You can get out and you get into the business relatively easily and quickly. All right? And what a lot of books will add is that all relevant information is available. Now, that's an easy thing to say, but whether all relative information is available, truthfully, is debatable. But typically, the important information about the marketplace is available. All right. Now, we got long run and short run, which you've already talked about. We know in the long run. In the long run, what? All your costs are variable. Everything is variable. Everything is changeable in the long run. In the short run, we're stuck with a few, at least one, and typically more than one, cost is fixed. And then we have other variable costs that we can change. Right? So you can change the hours of the shift you're working. But in the short run, you may have a fixed cost of a payment on your building, payment on your equipment, so on and so forth. In the long run, everything is variable, which is important because we're going to be looking at what happens in the long run in all these types of competition. All right? Now, as we remember from the early weeks of the class, the best place to be, the optimization point, remember we said it's where our marginal cost equals our marginal benefit. But now we're dealing with an individual firm. So we're no longer talking about marginal benefit, although it is a benefit. We're going to call it marginal revenue. So the optimization point, and it's true for all four types of competition, is where the marginal cost equals the marginal revenue for the corporation, okay? That is the point where you will maximize your profit, or if you are losing money, which we'll take a look at in just a second, at least you'll be minimizing your losses, all right? Okay, here we have kind of a graph of a bunch of different scenarios for a perfect competition. Now, as we know, in perfect competition, we have a price, and we know in perfect competition, the demand is what? It's perfectly elastic, so that's a horizontal line. So the price, we have a price, which is actually also the demand, which is a straight line going straight across. And when you think about it, it's not only your price and your perfectly elastic demand curve, but it's also your marginal revenue curve. Because as you make more, it's showing you what your revenue is as you make a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So this line is important. It's the price line, which is the demand line. Remember, we're all just price takers. That's what the market set the price at, and that's what where the demand is. And it's also your marginal revenue curve, okay? Now, remember, we talked about this before, your marginal cost, marginal meaning additional, your marginal cost curve always intersects your average total cost and average variable cost at its low point. First it hits the average variable cost at its low point, then it hits the average total cost at its low point. And remember, this is because marginal cost is a tug. It tugs average variable cost down when it's below it, and it also pulls average total cost down when it's below it. Once it intersects that curve, it's above the curve. So when it's above it, it pulls it up. So it has to be where it hits it, that is its lowest point, because after that, those curves are going up. And as you can see, the average variable cost gets closer and closer to your average total cost. Why? It's because as you're making more and more, your fixed costs are going down, getting real close to zero. Anyway, we start off with our optimization point. Well, where would that be? Well, in this case, great economic beginning answer is it depends. Here, we see, again, this price, it's your demand, and it's your marginal revenue. If we are operating here, this is your marginal revenue, and here's your marginal cost. At that point, it's hitting your average total cost at its lowest point. At that point, we are breaking even economically, okay? So we're covering all our explicit costs, all our implicit costs, which for the 99.9% are opportunity costs, and you're paying yourself, which as you develop your career or your business, paying yourself is going to be very important. All right, so here we can say, all right, the firm, that's good, we're making money. But what happens if this price, as we talk about, the price changes for some reason, the price floats up, the price floats down? Well, the price could, let's say it does float up. Well, if the price floats up, and you don't even need economics for this, common sense will tell you, if the price that you're receiving is higher than your low point of your average total cost, are you making money? Yeah, of course you're making money. And you can bring it up to see the box, which is in your textbook, fine textbook, but it will show you how much you're making, all right? But the main point we have to remember is just take a step back and say, okay, what's happening? If I'm here and I'm breaking even, if the price floats up, meaning I'm getting more for my firm, you are going to be making money, okay? Now, on the other side of the coin, if the price floats down, if it goes down, let's say it goes all the way down to this point where it's hitting the bottom of your average variable cost. Well, that point is a trouble point for us, okay? Here we were breaking even. We were covering all our costs and we were getting paid. When it hits average variable cost, that means you are at what they call your shutdown point. If it goes any place below the low point of your average variable cost, it is actually costing you even more money to open that door to your little business, turn those machines on. It's even costing you more. So you absolutely will not run your business below your average variable cost. All right? So here we have shutdown point. Here we have break even. Will companies operate if the price is between these two? Yes, in the short run, a company will operate if they're covering, let's say they're covering 60% of their fixed costs. Sure, they'll still stay in business because at least they're getting part of it back and they're making part of their payments to whether it's Bank of America, the machinery dealer, whoever. Now, can they sustain that in the long run? No, not in the long run. But in the short run, you will see a company operating, not that they want to, but they will operate in between the low point of your average total cost and the low point of your average variable cost. Anything below this is shut down. So, as your book points out, in the short run supply curve really basically is this. They're not going to run below the low point of their average variable cost. So it actually kind of looks like this. You come across and then you go up. Then it becomes your marginal cost. That's in the short run. But as we said, can you sustain operating between your low point of your average total cost and low point of your average variable cost in the long run? No, you're not. You will exit the business. And since there's easy exit and entry, which we'll talk about that a lot more in the other types of market structure, since there's easy exit and entry, you will exit the business. So for the long run supply curve is all the way up to where your low point of your average total cost is. So it goes more up here, over, and then up. And then it's your, again, then it's also your marginal cost curve. All right? But remember, no matter what competition we have, the optimization point is where your marginal cost equals your marginal revenue. You always start there. And once we are there, then we go to the price or whatever price we can get. If you're a price maker, fine. We'll go up and see, are we making money? Are we losing money? Are we breaking even? Because it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be making money if you're an oligopolist or a monopolist competitor, and even a monopolist, all right? But you always start where your marginal cost equals your marginal revenue, and from that point, you take it to where your price is. That will determine, hey, are you making money or are you losing money? And then you have to make the decision, am I going to stay in business as a short term, long term, or am I going to exit the industry? Okay? All right, this was a relatively short lecture. Some of the future ones will be a little longer. And I'm sorry that we have to do it this way. I've enjoyed the classes very much, and it was just a lot of in-class exercises that would have been a lot of fun to do in class. But looks like we'll have to finish it here. All right? So anyway, thanks. I will see you again soon.